Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second session of our online student readiness series. I'm so glad you're able to join today. My name is Sam, and I'm a success coach for online students with SUNY. I primarily work with psychology and management students at Empire State College. I look forward to learning about each of you during today's session. I'm glad to see such a great variety of attendees. I see some applicants who are preparing early, as well as some newly accepted students getting ready for your first semester. To get started, let's take a look at our agenda for this session. So today we'll be talking about asking for help. We will go over why it's important to ask for help for yourself, how to effectively seek assistance, and we'll also touch on resources you can turn to. Asking for help might sound simple, but it's incredibly important to tap into your strengths to make sure you have the information, support, and resources that you need to succeed. Before we kick off, I'd like you to take a moment and think about how you feel when it comes to asking for help. Consider your comfort level when you're asking for help for yourself from anyone, family, friends, professors, support staff, or even colleagues outside of school. So again, consider whether you feel very comfortable, somewhat comfortable, or very uncomfortable to the point that you avoid asking for help when it comes to asking for help for yourself, not for others. So typically when I ask this question, we get a lot of people saying, we have a couple who are comfortable, very comfortable asking for help, but a lot of people say they avoid asking for help, or at least somewhat comfortable, somewhat uncomfortable. That's pretty common across a lot of students because the difference of asking for help in a classroom versus online can feel a little bit different, especially when it comes down to asking for help for someone else as opposed to yourself. So let's talk a little bit about why it's important to ask for help. I'm going to go ahead and share a quick video that might start to shift your mindset about what it means to reach out for assistance and to advocate for your needs.
Hey everyone! Today we're going to discuss knowing when to get and seek help. For some people, it is very hard to ask others for help. However, everyone needs a little assistance from others every now and then. Many people see asking for help as a negative thing, but that is simply not the case. Asking for help can be difficult, whether you are an adult or a child. Additionally, knowing when you're in need of help can also be hard to identify because we are often taught and brought up to be independent and self-sufficient individuals. It takes a lot of strength for a person to go to another and say something like, "I am unsure about something," or "I can't find something," or "I could really use your help with something." Oftentimes, asking for help can be uncomfortable, but being taught and learning how to ask others for help is a really important skill that every child should have in order to be successful in life. How someone goes about asking for help and even how they go about accepting help says a lot about someone and can send powerful messages to other people about their character. According to kidshelp.com, here are some useful tips to remember when asking for help. First, accept that everybody needs help. Next, look at asking for help as a strength and not a weakness. Avoid viewing help seeking as a sign of failure. Encourage others to ask for help and be willing to accept help when you need it. Let's look at a scenario. Alex's English teacher told the class to write an essay on a topic that they had been discussing for weeks. When the teacher asked everyone to start working independently on the paper, Alex realized that she didn't know where to begin. Although she was nervous, she raised her hand and asked the teacher if she would help her get started. The teacher helped Alex, and she was able to complete her essay by the end of class.
So even though that video is technically geared toward children, I think we can all take something from it. Asking for help is a strength. It is an acquired skill that will serve us all well in our online education and outside of school. As an online learner, it's vital to be able to communicate what you need, whether it's to your coach, your advisor, your professor, or a tutor. This ability to communicate your needs is known as self-advocacy, which is an important skill as an online learner. Throughout your studies, you'll find yourself in situations where you need to ask for help. Here are just a few examples. You're not sure about your professor's expectations. You're feeling unclear about the requirements for a particular assignment. You're having trouble understanding the course material. Maybe outside of the specific classroom, you're not sure if you're all set with your financial aid or if your bill is paid. Maybe you're confused about an unfamiliar charge on your student account that you don't really recognize or know where it's from. What if you have writer's block? You're feeling overwhelmed, or you're struggling to balance school along with all of your life commitments. All of the examples I just listed are pretty common across all types of students, whether online or in person. But with studying online, you don't have the opportunity to just casually confirm information with your professor before or after class. While it's understandable to maybe feel a little bit of discomfort initially when you're asking for help as an online student through email or phone call, you'll soon become a natural at navigating your online learning environment. As you've probably heard, your SUNY Online Success Coach is a key resource for you as an online student. From the moment you apply until you graduate, your coaching team serves as your support system and your biggest cheerleader. Now, while your coach is always there to support and advocate for you, it's important to develop those advocacy skills yourself so you can take them beyond the classroom. Chances are you have the skills already. Now it's just time to apply them to you and your education. Take a moment to think about where in life you have already spoken up to ask for help or to ensure that yours or someone else's needs are met. Go ahead and share in the chat if you are in a caregiver role, whether for a child, a parent, or a loved one. Have you ever spoken up to advocate for that person? To get you started, think about your experiences helping them navigate maybe the healthcare system, the school system, or even just everyday life. Couple examples I might think of is consider if you've advocated for a person's medical needs until the problem is resolved. You might have asked targeted questions in medical appointments to make sure you're taking the right steps to help that person resolve an issue. If you care for a child, you might be talking to their school about their tutoring or special needs to explore what resources can help them succeed. Now, how about those of you who have work experience? Consider a time when you identified something that needed to be changed or improved in order for you to do your job. How did you ask for help when you needed additional resources like time, money, supplies, or staff in order to do your job well? Perhaps you took the initiative to talk to your boss, or maybe you connected with coworkers to talk about how to solve a problem. Maybe you looked online, wrote a plan, talked to friends and family to brainstorm solutions. Everything we just talked about is self-advocacy. So if you have done any of the above in any form, you are experienced at asking for help. It might come naturally for you to advocate for others, but remember, you're earning this degree for you. It's time to put yourself first. Let's take a look at a helpful strategy for applying your skills to advocate for yourself throughout your education. Consider the 5 W's and 1 H of self-advocacy to define your needs and determine your approach. Having a structured plan can make asking for help feel much more comfortable and natural, as it should be. The first W is who. Who can you turn to for assistance and where can you find it? Your coach is a great place to start if you're unable to find information about resources on your campus website or within your online course. Throughout your online education, you might turn to your professor, tutoring services, accessibility services, the writing center, family, friends, or colleagues. Most importantly is the what. What is it exactly that you need help with, and why do you need help? Be sure to be specific. Clearly defining what you need can help get you connected to the appropriate resources as soon as possible. For example, if you need help with an essay, consider whether you need writing assistance or whether you just need some clarification on what the professor wants you to write. If you're unsure of the professor's expectation, is it because the guidelines aren't clear, Or is it possible that you missed some directions in a different location of your course? If you're struggling with writing, is it because you're seeking to improve your writing skills? Or are you just stuck on a certain component of your paper, such as the formatting or the citations? This specific nature of understanding your needs will help you communicate to the person you're asking for help exactly how they can make the biggest difference in helping you succeed. Next up, when should you reach out? As soon as you feel like you might need help, you probably do. While we certainly encourage you to navigate the internet and your campus resources independently to resolve a question, make sure you also reach out to your support network as soon as you hit a roadblock. In order to be respectful of your support network's time, it's important to reach out with enough time for them to respond. For example, if you're struggling with an assignment 11:30 p.m. the day before it's due, it's not the best time to ask your professor for assistance. You want to give them the chance to support you. If you do need help at the last minute, don't let that stop you from reaching out. In a few slides, we'll talk about how to communicate respectfully with your support network by setting reasonable expectations. Now, equally as important as the W's is how you ask for help. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Now, think back to those situations where you just identified ways you've spoken up for others or yourself in a personal, caregiving, or maybe professional or work environment. When you're choosing how to approach asking for help, in what ways do you think that you worked through the 5 W's to best support yourself or others in that specific situation? Really, what it comes down to is you found, identified, requested, and utilized resources. So let's take a look at the resources that you have access to as an online student. The word cloud on the screen right now represents the many resources that you have access to as an online student with SUNY. Utilizing your online supports will get you closer to achieving your goals. Sometimes it can feel overwhelming to navigate the wide variety of resources we offer. Take just a moment to write down 1, 2, or maybe even 3 or 4 resources that you'd like to learn more about. If you're not sure where to turn, or if you're curious about a certain resource, you can always ask your success coach. I'll leave the screen up for just a moment while you write a couple down. So on your screen now, you see a scenario. I'd like you to imagine yourself in this situation. You're really struggling in your math course. You missed the last 3 assignments because you didn't understand them. You just recently failed the most recent quiz. Now, midterms are next week. What do you do? Let's define the what. You're falling behind in math and you didn't understand the last 3 assignments. Why? Take a moment to consider why you didn't understand those assignments. Were you rushing through the instructions, or are you confused about what is being asked of you? Since you also failed your most recent quiz, it sounds like you're having trouble with the math concepts. Who can help? In this scenario, you have a few options. You can reach out to your professor to clarify what they're looking for, or you could schedule a meeting with that professor or a tutor to help better understand the material. If you're unsure how to access tutoring on your campus, you can start with your success coach. Where? You can check your course syllabus for your professor's contact information, as well as their preferred form of contact, which might be over the phone, through email, through your learning management system, or by attending virtual office hours. If you're reaching out to a campus office, you can often find their contact information, which is usually phone or email, on the campus website. When to reach out? As soon as possible. In this scenario, you've spent several weeks feeling confused. You want to act now so you don't fall further behind. It is imperative that you understand the materials before you take your midterm exam. So allow time for your professor or your tutor to respond or schedule a meeting. Whether you need help or if you're falling behind due to personal obstacles or obligations, your professor might be willing to work with you on the missing assignments. They won't know you're struggling, though, if you don't reach out. Of course, the earlier you ask for help, the more opportunities you might have to connect with resources that can get you back on track. So we've talked a little bit about reaching out, even if it's a little bit too late. When you're reaching out for help, it's important to consider the how. You really want to communicate respectfully and clearly so the person understands exactly what it is that you need. It's important to build a partnership with your support system so you can work together to meet your needs. On the screen now is an example of a professional communication in the form of an email. Take a moment to consider where the student could have improved this email, as well as what areas they did really well. First, I noticed they addressed the professor using a professional title. Be sure to use the title that your professor has introduced themselves to you with. You might check the syllabus or course announcements to confirm what name and what title they prefer to be addressed by. When it comes to the subject of the email, this student used an informative title, but think about how they could have improved it. One of my favorite approaches is to put my first and last name, and sometimes I even include my student ID to be sure that the professor knows who I am and can find my student record. Next up, the student identified what class they're in. This can be really helpful for the professor as well. Next, the student requested a meeting within the week. They didn't say, I need to talk to you tomorrow. They allowed a little bit of time so the professor can get back to them and meet at a time that works for them. One thing to consider is whether the student already checked if the professor holds virtual office hours that the student can just join at a set time during the week. They would find this information in the syllabus or within the course. The email body clearly explains what the student needs help with, which is really helpful. However, I think the student could have been more clear about what specifically within the discussion they really need help with. Is the prompt of the discussion confusing? Are they actually having trouble finding research to make the discussion post? Do they actually need help with writing skills or maybe citations? When it comes to waiting for a response, you should really allow 1 to 2 business days for a response from faculty, staff, or your coach. If you still haven't heard back after 2 business days, it's appropriate and certainly encouraged to reach out again and follow up. When you're following up, though, be sure to remain respectful and professional in your communication. If you're unsure exactly how to follow up or want another set of eyes on your email, ask your success coach for advice. Just remember, we can't help you if we don't know what's going on, so be sure to reach out. As we wrap up, I just wanted to touch on a couple final thoughts. As you start your semester, remember, self-advocacy is critical to being a successful online student. If you're struggling to define the problem and communicate it to your support system, use the 5 W's to communicate your needs and identify who's there to help you and how you can do it. Next, be proactive and professional when you're advocating for yourself. And of course, don't wait until it's too late. Asking for help is a strength, and you should be proud of your ability to ask questions and connect with your resources. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope some of this information was helpful and that you'll be able to utilize it in your online studies. If you do run into any questions on this session or any of our other informational sessions, go ahead and contact your SUNY Online Success Coach by emailing us at the email address on the screen, studyonline@suny.edu, or by calling us at 518-445-4140. Look forward to working with you throughout the semester and hope to see you soon. Thanks again for joining.